one's the best crypto asset? Bitcoin's the best crypto asset. Which one's the best crypto asset? Bitcoin's the best crypto asset. Which one's the best? 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 What's the second best? There is no second best.
Welcome in to Discover Crypto. Happy afternoon. Today's show, we're going to have some crazy discussions about the long-term outlook. How sustainable is Bitcoin? We'll also have some attributes of Bitcoin that were highlighted by Michael Saylor that might be the ace in the hole for long-term winning growth strategies. And the Krampus Christmas seems to be upon us for altcoins. We're going to see if we're going to have an altcoin rally, that of the likes of Santa Claus, or if Krampus is going to come rip the guts out of the altcoin sector. Things are looking spicy. Things are looking vicious. Joined by some great people on the show here today. I got Ollie, the dog, licking the finger of Kelly Kellum. I have Blockchain Crusader.
What's going
I
on?
mentioned it before we went live. There's a lot of war stuff going on last night. I know you're watching that stuff too. Guys, right after Jerome Powell got done speaking, a swarm of drones hit Moscow. You know, it's just like we can't have nice things. It's almost like we can't have nice things. But excited to go over all the information that's out there in crypto today. And if you're out there watching this show, you're still in crypto. Cheers to you for having absolute balls of steel heading into the next year, because we are going into the great unknown. Let's get after it. Now, make sure to follow me at Drew Crypto, as you can find me in all my late night crash outs. Now, there is something kind of interesting going on in the background of all of this, you know, uncertainty. Is the quantitative easing going to happen? Is there any hope in the charts? We were covering it with Crank yesterday too, that ETH to Bitcoin pair injecting hopium into the hearts of crypto holders across the planet. Now, it's tough to hold on to that hopium when we dropped the way that we did, right? Yesterday, right after the Federal Reserve meeting, we crashed in a very vicious fashion. It's almost like a devil horns pattern. And then we basically are hoping Bitcoin's fighting for its life, basically, to bounce off of 90K right now. So we're going to look at the charts. I want your guys' opinion on where things are at with that. But there's something else that I want to kind of roll into here before we get too down into the weeds of all the charts and everything going on. Is this the conversation I thought was very, very interesting? This is Shanaka Anselm Herrera, quite a name as well. Now, no proof of work cryptocurrency, in his opinion, has ever survived on transaction fees alone. Bitcoin is about to attempt exactly this. The numbers, transaction fees today, 1% of miner revenue, and the required to maintain security is 100x of these current levels. Now, the average fee needed $85 per transaction, but right now you're only at 62 cents per transaction. This is a very, very interesting concept to think about here. Princeton researchers proved in 2016 that the fee-only mining is fundamentally unsustainable. 382 academic citations, 0 successful refutations, and the fees, if they replace subsidies, miners gain profitable strategies to attack Bitcoin rather than protect the network. The common assumption that the cheap nuclear and solar energy will solve this is mathematically false. If energy costs fall 80%, the attack costs fall by 80% as well. The security equation remains unchanged. Game theory does not care about electricity prices. This is some of the Blockstream research director calls a scary phase, a change in the no other coin has gone through this before. And the core developers, James O'Byrne, we might only have 2 halvings left before this becomes a serious issue, highlighting by 2032, block subsidies fall to 25% of current levels, and by 2036, by 12.5%. This is some heady stuff right now, And I wanted to address it. I wanted your opinion about this, Kelly, because we have a lot of people that are asking me questions about it in the chat. We have these kind of graphs where mempool transactions are hitting real low levels lately, and this is since ETFs came about. What is your take on all this, first and foremost, Kelly?
I think that I don't want to say it's a bunch of malarkey, but I think there's a lot more to the story. I think the nuanced aspect of how Bitcoin is going to be utilized and the growing development around Bitcoin is going to flip that entire research on its head. We look at what Jack is doing, Jack Dorsey, with his, really push for payments. And everybody goes, but Bitcoin shouldn't be used for payments. Okay, let's get off of our Western world high horse. The majority of the world, there's about 1.7 billion people globally that aren't banked. They're going to use Bitcoin for transactions. They're not storing wealth. They ain't got no damn wealth. So on the one hand, we look at it as a store of value. This is what we were trying to expand our wealth in the Western world. And the majority of people that are going to be utilizing Bitcoin are going to be utilizing it probably for transactions. That's going to drive up transactions, transaction fees, also further decentralize the use case of what's going on. But we're also seeing this exponential parabola on the hash rate, showing the strength of the miners, in addition to like ordinals, like runes, stuff that's kind of fallen off the radar of a lot of people. But I do think that as this market matures, there's going to be a lot of different mechanisms that actually still drive to, one, further decentralize the network, but two, also provide other revenue streams and everything going on. And furthermore, I do want to just share this chart really quick. This is from Sminston With right here. And what this shows, I can explain it very simply, is there's sort of a kind of similar to the power law. There's basically a 2x, 60x correlation going on here. So for every doubling in the time that Bitcoin's been around, so 1 month to 2 months, 2 months to 4 months, 4 months. In this case, we're about 16 years. Let's say 15. So 15 years to 30 years, that would be the next doubling. There's been roughly a 60x in price appreciation. So this also accounts for this idea of diminished returns, but we're looking at that on a time scale. But still, the fact that Bitcoin is a fixed asset and we have endless ways that Bitcoin can be deployed, integrated, utilized beyond just store value, and we're so early in the adoption phase, I think we need to stop being so impatient. And the last thing I'll close with on that topic is Rand actually asked this. He said, give me your best theory as to why crypto is the only market not moving while everything else is. We're in crypto because stocks don't move as fast. And in this cycle, AI and different Bitcoin proxies, energy, nuclear, all these things are just going parabolic, including gold, and Bitcoin's not moving. And it kind of ties back into that question about transactions volume, but also the speculative control that's happening. Bitcoin is a hypersensitive risk condition asset. And it's also a 24/7, 365 asset that can be tapped when everything else is closed. And it's also a nascent emerging market that's easy to push around for better positioning while all these big players are coming in. And this is also great to use number one as cover. So I think all these things are kind of intermixed and tied. And a piece like that from Shanaka, while I do appreciate his analysis, I follow him on other things. I think that doesn't account for the emerging market side of this and how fast things are changing and the way these things can be deployed and integrated.
There's some great insights there. And, it's just, you have to ask the question because, we're seeing a little bit of weird movements in terms of how much is being bought by Saylor, et cetera. And Saylor actually came out with a pretty interesting note about the options Bitcoin provides versus the current banking infrastructure, right? We're going to just check this out really, really quick. I really liked this conversation you had.
It takes 100 hours for people to understand Bitcoin. This is a 15-second ad. What it says is if you like money and you're not getting paid by your bank, you can get paid 10 or 11%, 10% by buying a digital credit. You will actually pull billions and then tens of billions and hundreds of billions and trillions of dollars of capital from people that don't understand Bitcoin. I don't got to understand nuclear reactors to know that electricity is free in the country. If you give people free money, give them money that's better than every other bank on earth, all of the capital in the world will flow into that country.
Some interesting pushback there, and it's interesting. It's almost like a tale of two cities going on right now. And a lot of the fear, Shinaka's great at the fear porn titles, and I respect fear porn titles. I respect that gang. You know what I mean? And a
Well,
lot of this conversation comes from this. Look at these, like real quick. Right as we're at this crescendo, people are looking for this. I think this is why so many of the fear-based things. Go ahead though, Kelly.
No, I mean, I think you're right on the money. And I actually have a chart I wanted to show you here. It's right here. This is, I was talking with TJ this morning. I was like, it kind of, and DZ, it feels more and more like we're living in a simulation. You saw that chart that you just showed. We're right on the crux of what should be an epic breakdown on a technical basis. And it comes after we just got a Fed cut. But then you see this chart, and this almost nullifies this whole idea of the Fed cut, because this giant middle finger to everybody that's ever stored money ever. And you look at how the government malfeasance and spending, this is what's happening. This is 2026. Look at every other year. How come everything is not only such on the edge, but also all the government, the majority of government debt, look at this, all stacked into coming due next, in 2026. Now, why does this matter? Because these Fed interest rates directly correlate, and also the ability to have any sort of budget to spend that's not just on debt is destroyed by this right here. So if we don't get rates down incredibly much lower, then our interest on the debt goes like parabolic. It means that we can't afford to pay for basic services. On the flip side, if they cut too fast, this is why Jerome Powell's been really threading that needle. If they cut too fast and money becomes too cheap, then what happens is you get runaway inflation. So it's like a tale of two screw you in the face scenarios, because then you look back at this, Bernanke, 2008, quantitative easing is temporary, and the Fed's balance sheet will soon be lower than we started. Here's 2008. Have we ever gone lower? No, we've only gone exponentially higher. And so, again, this goes all back to, that chart you showed, the frustration with the technical indicators that do show lower, but then the imperative that not only do we have to print, but we have to print and lower interest rates and hope we don't have max inflation, but inflation is going to come. That's why Bitcoin is such a pristine asset. And
you did that incredibly. That was amazing. That was,
but I wanted to close with what Michael Saylor just did was flip the marketing on the head of everybody that's been in Bitcoin up until this point. Pulse Digital says this regularly. Gary Cardone says this regularly. Crypto has had the worst spokespeople for it for its life up until very recently, in that it's the tech focused people that are explaining the cool tech to people that don't give a crap about the tech. They don't understand it. But what Michael Saylor did was like, hey, your bank's not paying you. You want to get paid? That's understandable to everybody.
Absolutely. And I want to ask the chat, so we're at a time frame where if the 4-year cycle holds true, we're going back down. And right around all-time highs of the previous cycle is likelihood. Are you expecting us to roll over, or are you looking forward to 2026? I really want to get the vibe in the chat. And I do see someone asking, who's this guy? I think someone's asking about me or Crusader or Kelly. Crusader has been a homie of mine for a really long time, and you do some great TA, bro.
Appreciate it, brother. Appreciate it.
Man. And I want to show you, I have hopium injected straight into my veins right now, and I'll show you why. And I want you to pour a bucket of cold water on me if I'm looking down the wrong area, because this is what I'm seeing from my personal perspective. I trade off of, when I buy a lot of spot, it's when I see green dots on the weekly on Market Cipher. And I've done this for a few years now, other than when I just realized I hated the government enough to take all my money out of the ability of their banks, central bank here, flu season. I see a double green dot on the weekly for Market Cipher right now. And we haven't had this since June of 22 when Bitcoin was 19K. There's a lot of fear porn going on saying that we're going to be rolling back down into this back the truck up zone, which I would absolutely adore, getting the chance to buy Bitcoin below its electrical cost down here at the $65,000 to $70,000 range. The electrical cost sitting at 74. Crusader, what is your opinion of where the markets are at right now? Because this is telling me to buy more altcoins while everyone's sitting in the comments complaining about price action right now. Like, what's your take on where we're at?
Yeah, man. The biggest thing is there's a good chance for you're justified to be hopium, to have hopium for next year, right? Because right now we're setting up the yearly range for 2025 to be above us, right? With a naked point of control above us, meaning that if we can break that 98 to 100K level, we're going to be pushing higher. Now, I'm trying to set up my chart here real quick because my lower time frame chart is extremely messy.
Yeah. And what you just said is basically, kind of when I feel like the bullish sentiment will come back into the zone where we can break above, right, even just at 100K. Then we start playing in that previous range that we were in. The velocity of the pullback has been very strong, but honestly, this is 32%, 32%. And then the yen carry trade was 32%. And the interesting thing is that we had like the timing of the 4-year cycle and the yen carry trade hit here, plus everything going on macroeconomically, and we still held at that 32% total drawdown. And this is even with October 10th, all the craziness that's happened.
The yen carry trade thing too. Interesting fact about that. On that 7-month site, right where that green box is, that top at 74, and then the crash to 48, the yen carry trade. Just before the yen carry trade fiasco is when Germany dumped billions of dollars of Bitcoin as well. So we had billions dumped on the market. We had the yen carry trade that screwed global markets, and then we still slingshot mega pump to the upside.
Absolutely. And that's just where and I can understand why people are so freaked out right now. And I've admitted this many, many times. Like, Bitcoin has never seen stagflation. Gold has. And gold is performing pretty much exactly as it had in the last stagflationary event. And then silver just absolutely going ballistic. It hit a new all-time high at near $64 an ounce. What do you got here, Kelly? Let me check it out.
This is how to say stagflation without saying stagflation. Try something like conditions in the labor market are cooling and inflation remains somewhat elevated. And then I double check that and I ask Grok, same thing. How to say stagflation without, because they don't want to say this word. Well, one of them by a central banker, like what's his name, Jerome Powell, elevated price pressures coinciding with labor market softening. Essentially, they're telling us we're in stagflation without using that term because they know that's a bit of a political nail in the coffin.
Yeah. And there's I see this all the time. They will liquidate Sailor and Little Tom. Just to be clear, Lawrence,
it will not.
We need to understand something. And like, I can understand the thesis of why you would assume that market makers and the powers that be would want to liquidate Michael Saylor. It's a reasonable approach and thought process. But what you need to know is that big chunks of strategy are owned by the very people you would imagine want to liquidate it. BlackRock, State Street, all the small caps, tiny hats, they own big chunks of strategy. So they're already getting their control of strategy through ownership of the company. And really, the higher likelihood in my mind is that you're going to see some form of a nationalization of strategy to a degree. I can understand the thought process, and I like that you're asking questions, the tough questions. But it is worth noting that big chunks of that firm is owned by the small caps to begin with. So silver going the way it is, man, it's leaving a lot of people in that max, like, what the hell is going on right now? I should have just bought silver and forgot about it. But it took a long time for gold and silver to go parabolic once again. And there is no denying that we are in stagflation. It's just about how Bitcoin and this chart reacts to the same macroeconomic problems that hit us during the 79 to 80 movements, right? That is the real thing that we have to acknowledge here. We're going into the great unknown. And if you hold crypto into 2026, you have absolute brass balls, right? And that's where I commend everyone that's still engaged and focusing on crypto right now, because there's a lot of unknown, there's a lot of uncertainty, and if it was easy, everyone would do it and there wouldn't be much upside, right? So we have to think about it from that perspective as well. Oh God, do we dare go look at XRP? Do we dare go look at XRP?
I mean, they're getting massive inflows on their ETF, but price.
I know. But the problem is it's OTC, right? It's the same thing that's been happening with Bitcoin. Like billions bought in Bitcoin OTC doesn't affect the price going up, just nukes you on the way down when they sell. I'm going to go look at XRP's graph.
Yeah, dude. XRP's been in a bad spot. They've been making lower highs all throughout the year. Is my chart up? Let me see.
No, not yet. Just press present, the little plus screen thing, and you can go through there. But I'll pull it up because you know what? If XRP drops, oh, there we go. If ever XRP drops under $2 with conviction, crypto Twitter is probably going to become the most toxic place on the planet because they are going to lose.
Look at
their
those
effing mind.
inefficiencies. Those giant green candles with nothing there for it to sit on, man.
Right.
So yeah, it's been sitting on this like $2 price point, $1.97 to $2 since December, back in the election of 2024, right? We had that big breakout and just very low volume. We have not revisited any of this except for the liquidation on October 10th, right? When we just nuked all the way down to 124. Some charts I think show even lower. So we're pretty much sitting in the danger zone here for XRP. If XRP doesn't get its stuff together, right? Bitcoin made multiple all-time highs during this same exact time frame that XRP was just pushing straight down. So if we lose this support zone here and we start closing dailies or weekly candles below, we're looking at targets between 177 to 108, 112 to get the party started to the downside.
Dude, 108. You're talking nearly $1 XRP.
Well, yeah, we
we
never came back to those levels, right? We just have some quick wicks in that quick wick on October 10th, but we have zero retest of anything between 66 cents to about $1.75. Zero.
Let me ask you this. And both of you guys are great at charts. Kelly, Blockchain Crusader, you guys are really good at charts. So I want to ask you this. Let's say I bought XRP at $2.50, maybe just under $3. And I'm sitting on this $2 edge of a cliff right now. I'm down slightly. You know, would you de-risk at this point and go back to Bitcoin? What do you do with that bag if you're sitting here looking down the barrel of something like this?
I'll give you my thoughts first. And that is the fact that this market so far lately has had basically this prolonged period of extreme fear, right? All the way since November 4th. Okay. While I personally think XRP is probably going to take a dip, I think we are very, very, very set up. And this is Bitcoin, right? But this is going to be the metric for risk in the crypto market. I think we're very set up because of this is basically people selling at a loss versus selling in profit. These sell in losses, whether it's in a bear market or a bull market. These set up, in this case, continuation up, continuation up, continuation up. If we're going into a bear market, even back here, look, when this comes down and everybody's flipping bearish, you get a rally. Everybody flips bearish, you get a rally. I would at minimum, if you want to move and shuffle positions, wait for whatever rally we get out of this and maybe make a position change when Bitcoin hits 98 or 103, something like that. And you subsequently see ETH and altcoins make a move. At least at that point, you can make a move when you're not making moves in this extreme fear situation, which is never a good time to make a move.
Do you see what Memetics commented under your post with? Do you see what's going on? Memetics, if you show up, you're getting banned. All right. I want to ask the question to you as well, Crusader. Let's say like I was buying into the hype, right? And I got into XRP because I heard my 70-year-old golf buddy talking about it at $2.50, let's say. And, you know, we're at extreme fear, like Kelly just highlighted, and it's historically a pretty bad time to sell. But do you de-risk? What's your approach in that kind of scenario, bro?
Yeah, so in that scenario, I mean, it's really a tough lesson to learn, right? It's a hard pill to swallow when you start to realize that XRP is not the dream that everybody pitches to be, right? These XRP solo creators out there that pitch you this, you know, massive flip of the switch and they're going to take over the Swift system and take over everything. People are starting to realize that that's just a dream, right? That's just for clickbait. So I would base my decision on Bitcoin, just how Kelly was talking about, right? Knowing that there's a big chance that Bitcoin rallies. A very simple chart here is this is the yearly range for 2025. We're still currently below it. We have a 382 fib at 97,000 to that 98,000, which is going to be critical. But if we can flip into this range starting in 2026 and run for its yearly NPLC of 105 to this gold pocket of 109, that will give you a chance to potentially exit out of your XRP position at a higher price point, or at least break even. Allow altcoins to have a little bit of a push to the upside, right? So I would base it off of that. And then if you start seeing weakness out of Bitcoin and Bitcoin falling back down lower towards the lower part of this range or down below, then it's time to say, hey, Bitcoin is most likely going to be heading lower. It failed to continue pushing back up higher. Altcoins are going to get smashed. I'm exiting my position, but I wouldn't exit right now. My mentality is very different from a lot of people. When I first started in crypto back in 2017, 2018, it's get rich or die trying, right? Like if you're an average American out here, whatever money you're putting into the market, obviously you're putting it after you paid all your bills. So if that money does go away, does it hurt? Absolutely. But does it change your life? No, you're still going to have to walk into your 9 to 5 tomorrow and go work and make more money and just continue to live that lifestyle until the day you die. But if your risk plays out and you make money on that investment, that money can be life-changing to you, and it could change your life. So I'm a risk it all or nothing kind of guy.
I will say also, Scott Melker put this out, and it's pretty solid. It's
all right, go. Let me do it for you, buddy. There you go.
That is, it says, riddle me this. Even if you believe the 4-year cycle and that Bitcoin is going into a drawdown, this bear market, right? Why would you assume it will drop 75, 80, 90% again when we barely got any of the classic upside that you would have seen in previous cycles? We didn't get multiple ups. We didn't get euphoria. So why would we see the same overwhelming downside when you're seeing like incredible things, Congress urging SEC to, for Bitcoin and crypto, 401ks, when you see, just many of the things, Trump saying he's considering ending federal taxes on gambling. I mean, Bitcoin isn't gambling, but these altcoins are, right? But my point here is just like the circumstances surrounding supporting this industry really, to me, usher in more bullishness on a bear case. Meaning if we do go into a bearish case for, let's say, another 3 months, I think that that's more of a manipulation lower before we get a lot higher next year. So I just think we need to be aware of the circumstances.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of conversation in the chat here about XRP too. It's pretty funny. Let's see here. I want to go through some of the comments. If XRP moons, I will be able to retire comfortably at 97. Crusader, did you hear that they're working on getting us to live to 120?
120.
Yeah. Like,
why the heck I want to be here for 120 years?
I know.
Let me go be with Jesus.
Yeah. Give me the leverage is gambling. Yeah. I hear that all the time. XRP, spot ETF, the fact is still a big deal, even though it's a complete disappointment. It is a big deal. And the OTC thing Kelly highlighted in the comments, it's done on traditional markets too. You know what I mean? This is almost like we invited the devil to the dance, and oh my, what is this?
It's the devil coming to the dance.
Oh Lord, what is that? Who's that?
That's when we're trading meme coins, when we're 120 years old. No, it's Japan's octogenarian trader who built a $14 million fortune in markets. So I just thought that was funny when we're talking about 120-year-olds.
Oh Lord. And there's been upside in the markets too. It's like, AI, I'm layering in, I have some stocks in the nuclear energy industry as well. Like I think there's upside for that too. This is kind of an interesting story I wanted to highlight. Disney is now going to invest $1 billion into OpenAI as well. So we see a lot of kind of hybrids and people wanting to get in on the AI narrative in the upswing. OpenAI seems to be one of the bigger AI projects out there, but Elon Musk is competing pretty aggressively about finding that seat at the table for the top AI in the world.
Dude, he's already there. People just don't want to realize it. He's got Neuralink.
He's getting data from
data from inside the body.
Right.
Tesla, which is mapping the world, Starlink and SpaceX, which already has access to space and satellites and deployment, XAI, Grok, social media on X. The amount of touch points that his AI is going to have access to throughout organisms here on the planet and delivery to space. I think it's a charade that we're watching Google and Gemini, and OpenAI. I think they're going to be major players, but I don't think people realize how far of a lead, because of the tentacles Elon has in various different aspects and niches, how much faster that's going to really have big impact.
Who do you think is going to win, Crusader? Did Grok, Gemini, ChatGPT? Who do you think is going to come out on top? Because this is just like the .com bubble right now, is what I see. Like there's a race.
I would agree with Kelly on Grok and the Elon Musk attribute of him taking over. He's just everywhere, man, and I feel like he's got more exponential momentum on things than Google and Gemini and all these other ones are slower in the background. They are focused on a lot of other agendas outside that Elon is not focused on. Elon is focused only on moving forward as fast as possible, because he's the only one that talks about the fears of the dangers of AI if we don't merge it, right? Which is why he has that Neuralink tentacle in there, is because his goal is to merge with it, versus everyone else is still having some type of delusion that they're going to encapsulate it and be able to control it in the long term. And that's just not a true long-lasting reality. It might start off that way, but the genie is going to come out of the bottle at some point, and Elon's already planning for that moment. So that's why I think he will win outside of the other competitors.
Right. And I mean, he's about to IPO SpaceX at like, I think it was $1.5 trillion or something like that. And generally, the markets have been quite up from the AI pump.
And he was one of the founders. He was one of the founders of OpenAI. People forget that too.
Yeah, absolutely. And he kind of dissented, it's because he dissented because it's not open source. It's closed source. I'm not going to do it on this channel, but I've superimposed. If you flip the Chat GPT logo on itself, I'm not going to do it on this channel. Crusader knows what I'm talking about. This is an experiment you can do for yourself at home, right? But the markets have had a lot of fun with this AI upswing. MSCI All Country World Index is up about 20% year to date and on track for its best annual performance since 2019. It's nearly double the last 10-year average of 11%. It also marks third consecutive annual gain, matching the 2019 to 21 streak. So, there's been a nice pump up. I don't think we're at that crescendo where we see the giant blow off top for AI yet. But I really feel like there will be a time when this freaking bubble pops. It's just, I don't think it's going to happen until I feel like 2030. I feel like things will be so overheated by then.
Yes.
And then the winner will be chosen. And I got to say, I agree with you guys on who's going to win this AI race, because on top of everything Kelly just said, AI agents have been feeding information to Grok in the billions, right? There's like billions of comments that are coming in from AI agents, not even just humans. There's so many AI agents being built and talking on X right now that's turned into a lot of like reply guy slop. I've seen a lot of AI agents are like very sloppy, random, useless comments on X, which is aggravating to me. And if you're watching this after we're live and you're a moderator, please help me delete the scam comments because that's taking up like an hour of my day. I'm really trying to delete all those scammers in the comment section. So if you can't help me out. Now I want to ask you this. So we're going into 2026 and there's going to be midterm elections. I know we're not horribly political on here. I try not to be. I get it all out of my chest in the morning. But Polymarket's got some bets going on for who's going to be the Democrat frontrunner for 2028. Now, Gavin Newsom is clearly in the lead on Polymarket for the Democratic presidential nominee, and Alexandra Ocasio-Cortez comes in at number 11. Pete Buttigieg at number 5% here, and then Josh Shapiro at 4.3%. Who do you guys think could be? Is there any wild cards, like maybe Big Mike, like anyone coming from the top ropes that might take the spot for Democrat? Because we can make some money off this if we can think hard about this and bet on the most polarizing Democrat to come out of nowhere. Because Gavin's not that hard to outdo. Like, he's got a good haircut, but he's got a lot of baggage too. What do you think?
Yeah, the problem with baggage is that, the liberals don't care. They like carrying all that baggage along with them. But he definitely is probably the most clear, decisive. I mean, unless Joe Rogan goes out there and posts himself as a Democrat, maybe he'll give Gavin Newsom a run for his money. But man, I don't really know anybody else that would do it, right? You have Mark Cuban. He sits out there kind of, on that side of the gate of the fence. So maybe he'll do it, but I don't see why Mark Cuban will go out there. I can't think of anybody off the top of my head that would knock him off.
Kelly, you got any ideas? Because I'm going to go with Big Mike. I'm already sold on Big Mike. But what do you think, Kelly?
Yeah, I think that could be a possibility. I think we need to stay focused. I think things could change a lot between now and the end of next year, because it's going to be interesting to see if there's a swing, pretty aggressive swing for votes during the midterms next year. And on that note, I think all this stuff still ties in back to the Fed. I did want to touch on this earlier. This isn't a tangent, but it kind of is. But we got that half rate cut, 25 basis point rate cut. And part of the reason why the market's not doing so well right now is because they revised down expectations about rate cuts continuing next year. Now, the reason why I think that's interesting going into the midterms next year is Trump wants to run the economy hot. So basically you're seeing stock market all-time high, Bitcoin pumping, money, right? But on the flip side, there does seem to be political tension between what's going on with Jerome Powell and Donald Trump's expectations. And it's not just his, it's Scott Bessent and, Howard Lutnick, a lot of other people as well. But because this Fed chair is switching in May, and it's pretty telegraphed that whoever gets in there is likely going to be put in there because they're really going to press for more rate cuts. Yeah. So does that make it more apparent or more of a barrier to get the kind of rate cuts you might want to do ahead of time? But, oh no, let's not do that because they're going to be super aggressive in May. So meaning maybe we get kind of a hawkish Fed all the way through May, and then boom, it's just like dropping 2 or 3 points in one go. I mean, I don't know. All these things I think could dramatically shift what the response in the market is to what happens in the midterms. And I think those two things will then have a very big impact on what happens in the presidential nomination in 2028.
Look at these comments. Hunter Biden, Bernie is tan, rested, and ready like Nixon in 1984. God, maybe I should go with Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders, that's a good, he is on his revenge path. Bernie Sanders is on.
They don't let him win, dude. They knock him down every time. They knock him down every time.
He's like started to get real lit against the Democrats. Maybe that might be a fun little bet. I might take a little swing at seeing if Bernie can take it. Let's talk a little altcoins though. While we're on the subject of crypto and making money off the Polymarket here. So what we have, oh God, Meanless thinks Madani or whatever the hell his name is. ETH transaction fees fell to the lowest level since 2017. The Fusaka upgrade has come. ETH gas fees dropped to their lowest levels in 8 years. And the ETH to Bitcoin chart looks absolutely delicious. I do want us to kind of start swooping around the Ethereum chart and see if there's any damn chance that these alts might run. Because right now, it looks like Bitcoin's gaining a little bit more ground than Ethereum. Yesterday, this is vice versa. They just keep jockeying back and forth on who's winning, but ETH has been starting to gain some serious ground, and it's holding above $3,000 pretty consistently, even in the light of all these big pullbacks, which is making me happy. And I'm seeing a little bit more love on the longs when I'm in either ETH or Solana long lately, which has been really interesting because previously it has not been that way. I'll kind of pick on you. We'll go first, Kelly, and then I'll pull up Blockchain Crusader. But what do you guys see on ETH here?
Well, on Bitcoin, I just want to preface this first. We have this descending wedge that we've fallen out of, and we're coming back up, trying to get through not only two different support and resistance lines, but also all of this chop over here. Whereas when you look at Ethereum, similar falling wedge, but we've already broken out, retested, and broken a bit higher here. And this is also represented when you look at the Bitcoin dominance. We're seeing the Bitcoin dominance had a little bit of a fall, but it still looks very indecisive. But the ETH to Bitcoin pair also has broken out. So it does look like ETH, I feel like it's, I don't want to say suppressed. I feel like the capital looking at ETH and altcoins and all that market has been very, very risk sensitive. And because there hasn't been a clear picture, we've seen lack of movement like everybody wanted. So it does look like it's shaping up to me. I think we're going to have a fairly bullish year for alts in 2026.
Okay. Crusader, what are you looking at on your ETH? I know you got fibs and volume pockets pulled up here. Let's see what we got.
Yeah, man. So ETH has held up very well, even though Bitcoin topped out, right, and had that major retracement, all that stuff. Ethereum is still sitting pretty well here. I mean, with the lows from April of 2025 still significantly in a nice uptrend throughout all of 2025. We came down to this macro gold pocket, right, that we had down here at 2,600, hit it, and we've bounced very nicely since then. And if Bitcoin is going to have that push into the 2025 range that is developing above us, right, and continuing to push higher into 2026, Ethereum is primed to continue pushing higher. We still have some targets here, minor targets between 39 to 4,800, and we got some gold pockets here of extensions all the way up to 5,600 that Ethereum can hit. So like Ethereum hasn't had a major sign of weakness. It's just Bitcoin's dragged down the market a little bit, and ETH has held up extremely well compared to the rest of the altcoin market. And I think it's primed that if Bitcoin does have a rally to the upside, Ethereum will be breaking out of its 2025 range that is still developing here and running for that all-time high with Bitcoin in Q1 if we have that rally for Bitcoin.
Well, Crusader, you got a great comment here from Sack Nasty. He said BBB. I think he means build back better. I think he wants you to build this crypto market back better, baby. Let's go.
Yeah, Sack Nasty, you're gonna get banned. Hold on, wait a minute.
You are banned.
Loved him. Okay, not love is now past tense. Now I wanted to look at Aave because Aave is one of the more systemically useful and larger altcoins out there. It's gotten bludgeoned, and I saw this news today come out of a little bit of an integration with Chainlink stakers and Aave. Now Aave v3.6 around the corner. Good moment to revisit the onboarding of ST Link from stake.link. Now, this is inviting risk providers to provide an update on analysis of this is basically driving more interest into staking into the network. Aave still sits as the biggest lending protocol in crypto. Like, it is looking like it's definitely here to stay, in my opinion. Here's the overall lending TVL. As you can see, we had a slight dip, but we're already starting to catch our footing. And Aave is sitting at 32 billion in TVL, while Morpho is right behind it at 5.7. But from a chart perspective, I've also had a lot of luck, maybe luck or timing, but just good time longing and shorting Aave. And I want your guys' opinion about it because I love trading Aave. Maybe I'll run to Kelly and then Crusader here because I love kind of bouncing your guys' ideas off each other to come up with a game plan for myself.
All right, I haven't looked at this chart in a long time. I don't even know where these lines are coming from. So
yeah, same. I'm building the chart as we speak.
I mean, nasty doubles. It's over. But I honestly, I think this is really just a setup of the century. You know. Because I think they're really exhausting people. And I do think that Aave is going to be one of the larger banks, decentralized banks out there in the world. Well, I will say this is a low, higher low, higher low. So that's the first thing I'm looking at in terms of structure. This does look ugly. It's like it has to go down. However, what I'm looking at also is RSI. I'm going to do option V, and option, let's see, V. Okay, we're seeing these very low points. And this nice run up, it didn't quite catch it. Okay, low, kind of nice run up, failed, but then launched. Low point right here on RSI. And again, this is on the 3-day chart. Mark the bottom, up. Okay, here we are again on the downside. And then not only that, notice here on RSI, we have this massive downtrend on the RSI, essentially, that's also broken out of that zone. So this is looking like it wants to take some tests to the upside. But again, this is just like we were talking about with the fear and greed on Bitcoin. I'd be very locked into these fib levels. Look at that, 382, right where this range high is. Golden pocket, right where this range high and range low are. So these are very necessary levels to watch. I'd be watching what happens when we interact with these levels if we get a bounce here. But money flow coming out pretty tremendously there on the 3-day. 12-hour, not giving us much. So I'm bullish on Aave. I think this is all one big setup to trap people down and then make us move to the upside. That's my thoughts.
Okay. Let's hop on over to Crusader. I like this. I like having two TA guys on the show. It helps me out because I like comparing ideas here. What are you seeing? I see you got the fixed volume profiles here on two different setups.
Yeah.
What do you see here, brother?
So basically, what we're seeing here is that big Aave.
Oh, he's getting rugged. No,
It's
don't get
high
rugged.
monthly range from November and October. So we're sitting at some strong support here around 159. We're currently sitting at 195. We're being held down by this 382 fib of 196, right? We have a gold pocket up at 278 to the upside. So this goes back to the same thesis. If you know where Bitcoin's going, or you think you know where Bitcoin's going, then you have an idea where Aave could be going here. If Bitcoin is going to get primed and set off that run into early 2026, then Aave is already at the support, right? At the yearly support of its range to the downside here. Lots of volume high node around this 174 area to 154. So the next big node for 2026, 2025 of volume is around this 226 to 278 that lines up with the gold pocket. So that is the next big target for Aave to the upside. Obviously, if we break above that, then we're going to be contesting here some local highs from back in August of $372.
Okay. And then, like, generally speaking, like, Aave is a useful tool just in money, like crypto trying to become money. And this TVL dip looks like a dip for ants. I mean, it does look like internally, in terms of how much volume, how much TVL is still involved with the lending side of crypto. It seems like we are already kind of front running that bounce that you guys are talking about. We're sitting a potential on right now, but a lot does ride on Bitcoin finding its footing. Now, let's talk about one more thing, because I did want to address, there's a coin that consensus backed, and it was the only other thing besides Chainlink that is working with Swift. And I put about like 1% of the portfolio in it. It's called Linnea. And I think I bought it like let's just look at it, because I want to kind of address this. I was getting asked in the chat if I'm still bullish, from a structural standpoint, or like a long-term outlook, or high risk to reward outlook. I like Linnea still, and I am indeed still holding it, but it has been a ride downhill. I'm down like probably 30% or something like that on the position, but it is a spot hold that I was well aware I was going into danger zone. So I'm not up here complaining about it. And I'm actually almost enticed to buy more of this project. I think I bought right at about like this shelf right here, and we've fallen. We've definitely fallen from this zone by about like 28%. And I'm hopeful, like the psycho in me wants this thing to drop even more. Like I wanted to see if I can get it at like this 0.005 level where the October 10th wick goes down to. Kelly, I know you went in on that with me. Once we saw who was backing Linnea, we bought a little bit of a chunk of it. Like, am I an insane person for wanting to buy more of a chart that looks like this? Because I kind of feel like I'm a little crazy in this process. Oh, I think you're muted here. Let me see if I can unmute.
Yeah, I got you. No, I don't think you're crazy. The team behind it, the partnerships it has, especially something like Swift, it's not something nominally. But when you look at the chart, I mean, it has been falling. Oh my God. But you also see this sort of rounding scoop coming in, like much lower low, kind of low. I mean, lower low, but nowhere near the scale. It's rounding out like this. It doesn't really show you any data on the super positive on the money flow, other than the fact that super scary, back to zero. It got scary again. It's kind of chopping to find what its footing is. But this is what I see right here. What is RSI doing? What's that number? I always tell you guys, watch the 50 line on the RSI when you're trying to figure out, are you going to have some sort of bullish possibility or are bears in control? If you're below the 50 line or rejecting at it or staying down here, the bears are in control. When you're above this, especially if you break out, find support and go, the bulls have retaken control. So the fact that this is rounding and the RSI is it's trying to make its move, I think we're starting to get into a pretty good, new accumulation zone before we get that next attempt to the upside.
Gotcha. Okay. And I mean, obviously, Dion, yes, the chart looks like absolute ass. But you know what? That is part of the crazy part about how I do this altcoin sector stuff is I take small risks that have high reward potential. You know what I mean? So it's kind of the move there. Crusader, do you have the Linnea chart available for us to check out?
I got it up for you guys.
Let's pull it up.
So yeah, like I said, right, it doesn't look great, but it's one of these things. It's either it's going to zero or we're gonna have some type of push to the upside here, right? And if we are gonna have a push to the upside, right, the targets are between a penny to almost 2 pennies, right? It's almost 2 cents. 0.018 is the October naked point of control. We have a monthly average here around 1.5 cents. So it's either it goes to absolute zero, and it's a risk it for the biscuits kind of scenario here,
and that's where I'm at.
Type of recovery to the upside. And this recovery, these targets, right, from where we are to this first set here, that is about a 45% move to the upside. If we run for the October MPLC, that's a 134% move to the upside. So,
Okay.
So what you're saying is that the chart doesn't really look that much like dog ass. Is that what you're saying?
No, it looks like ass, but there's a chance. There's a chance.
All right, here's the deal too. It's like there's so many smaller cap plays out there. If I'm going to find a smaller cap play that I think could possibly have a big runner, be a big runner, who's the team? How connected are they? What circles do they run in? And what sort of partnerships have they already deployed or are they integrating into? Joe Lubin, one of the founders of Ethereum, Swift, one of the largest global payments network, and the circles Joe Lubin runs in, obviously Consensus, MetaMask, all these things that they're a part of. And the market cap is what's their market cap right now? It's low as hell. It's
very low. And when I'm looking at a project like this, I completely acknowledge that I'm in danger every time that I buy a project as small of a market cap as Linnea. But it was that was in my mind as well. Even watching the chart go down, it's like
$118 million.
Yeah, Joe Lubin's not going to go quietly into the night after backing this thing with Consensus. And there's only 2 projects that are publicly working with Swift. It's Chainlink and Linnea. You know what I mean? So, it's an interesting thing to look at in terms of how much am I going to put, 50% of my portfolio in it to hoping it goes up? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I'd only be putting maybe another % of the portfolio and be willing to lose a total of 2% on that risk play. But these are how I was able to make big plays last cycle. Like I picked Polygon out just because I liked the logo, literally because I liked the logo at 2 or 3 cents. And I was able to sell it for $2+ when things really started kicking over. Now where Polygon is right now, they've gone through many name changes. Polymarket has integrated Solana, all kinds of different things that you can use Polymarket on. I don't feel like Polygon is Polygon cooked, you guys, because I'm personally I made my money last cycle on Polygon. I got completely out, but I do know some people that have staked it and they're waiting for an escape pump at this point. Yeah. And I kind of want to address that because it's a project that I see in the chat a lot. I made good money off of it last cycle, but all the name changes really aggravated me to see. You know what I mean? So what do you guys think of Polygon?
Yeah, they gotta change it up. Oh, sorry. They got to change it up because, last cycle, they were the solution for Ethereum's gas problem. And Ethereum was bombarded with transactions, NFTs, all this stuff. That doesn't happen anymore, right? And now with the Fusaka upgrade that Ethereum just did, right, that just eliminates the usage of layer 2s even more, right? They're still going to benefit somewhat through Ethereum being a layer 2 and getting some attraction and, burning whatever it is the Fusaka upgrade does for layer twos, which is beneficial to them. But Polygon needs to start making itself known for something besides being a layer two on Ethereum. And I think that used to be their goal. I don't know where they're at right now with that roadmap. They are working on, I've seen a few announcements that they're doing some pretty cool stuff, but they just got to make that distinguishment that they are no longer just a layer two and that they're their own blockchain. They're going to be running and doing and building their own thing. So if they don't do that, they're definitely going to be cooked, but hopefully they can pivot.
What do you think, Kelly?
It's hard to say, man. I think we get locked in the speculative price action of a token, and we attribute that to what the project is doing on the back end as well. I think probably 80%, 80 to 90% of the tokens that we see out there now, even if they're good this cycle, in 7 years probably won't be around. I don't know if Polygon fits there or not, because remember, Polymarket was very much integrated across Polygon, but a lot of what they do settles in US dollars or USDT. They're also bridged over to, I think, Solana as well now, if I'm not mistaken.
They did. Yep.
But again, it goes back to the same thing. Ethereum saw the issue with all these L2s, which was great, hypothetically, last cycle. Eliminating gas fees and speeding up transactions. And now Ethereum has sort of, made steps to, I don't want to say nullify, but mitigate some of those contentions out there. But Polygon, I think, still has legs. I think we need to watch it the next cycle and a half to see if they do anything meaningful, because they got some really smart people on their team. Or does it just get absorbed into another project? I don't really know. I think, will it have a pump this cycle? I don't know, man. It's hard. It's so hard to say with the contentious environment that the ecosystem's in right now, with hyper bullishness and peak fear at the same time.
Yeah. And I keep poking at potential bullish outlooks for Polygon, and I literally have not come across one from all the people I talk to in crypto. And this is something that, like, by historical standards, you would think I would go back into to try to repeat what I did last cycle with. But, I can't find any reasoning to do so. So, I just figured I'd run the question by you guys on it. It's an interesting time. I had Grok add a mustache to Tom Lee, and I don't think it did it really correctly at all, you guys. Unfortunately, this is what it came out with. So Tom Lee with a mustache, not working out. But something about Tom Lee is, I think we spend a lot of time making fun of his price targets of like 60,000 Ethereum, but it doesn't seem like anyone really takes the time to understand the implications of if he's 10% correct, right? If he's even slightly correct about his giga bullish ETH outlook, then what that means for the altcoin sector, right? Because we compare, we talk about Bitcoin's price action and going up and down by like 2 or 3%. But don't get it twisted. The concentration of value is still exponentially in Bitcoin. That $1.8 trillion market cap right now, all you have to do is go down by like maybe 5-10 spots, and you're down into the 20 billion, 9 billion here at number 13. It really doesn't take much time to get exponentially smaller on the amount of value here. One last thing. I keep addressing this, and I don't want it to take off without me again. The Craigslist misconnection of Drew's life. The Tensor Tau. I know I brought it up. Blockchain Crusader. Do you own Tau? Are you bullish on Tau? What's your thoughts on the Tensor?
Yeah, I actually do own Tau. It's one of the few AI coins that I own. I'm actually pretty bullish on Tau right here. So you guys can see we have fallen out of its uptrend that we were in, right? But we have been trying to cling on to its support, right? There's a lot of support here between 304 to about 320, 330 area. We lost that here recently in November. We're trying to regain those levels. It's very critical that we do. We have some short-term targets here of 366 to 392, which will put us back in this uptrend. So I am bullish on BitTensor Tau. It's one of the few AI coins that I hold that I think has a very good outlook. It was having a major rally in November when everything else was not doing so hot, right? It ran all the way up to 541, hitting the upper band of this uptrend before, having that major collapse along with Bitcoin. But I still have an outlook. I still have a target up here of 617, right? Of main target that I'm looking for to the upside for BitTensor Tau. We just got to hang on. We got to hang on and get back above that 304, 320 area. If not, we do have some targets down between 216 to 142 to the downside, which we would, that was the big drop of the liquidation for BitTensor Tau on October 10th. But all the support is pretty much sitting here at this 300 area. We just need to get back above it. If not, we could be looking lower.
Okay. Yeah, it's one of the projects that's on my mind. If we do see the market roll over in aggregate over the next few months and I'm wrong about having hope for 2026, then it's one of the ones that I'll be buying the lows of. And it's like, if I'm wrong, I get cheaper prices on my favorite projects and things that I've spent years researching and feel strongly about. So that's actually not a bad situation. If you're not in our Discord, you're missing all the trading calls, which are making me a great bag of tether that is sitting on the sidelines, just rubbing its hands together. And also tonight, if you guys are on X, make sure to check out this. Kelly, what do you got going on tonight?
We got a great spaces going on tonight with Chris Klein from Bitcoin IRA, but then also the Real Plan C bar chart. Leah, the trader, her and I actually went to school together at Columbia, but she's now, making millions out there trading and investing. She's a great resource, talking about markets, broader markets as well. Terrence Michael, this is Proof of Money. If you've ever go to the Bitcoin Today Twitter Spaces, we're going to be having a conversation about what's going on and some doom signals that are out there. And are they doom signals for the bulls or the bears? And I'll drop this. This post right here in the comments. Go in there, set your reminder. We'll be live tonight, 5:30 p.m. Eastern time, about 2.5 hours from now, just breaking things down and chatting. So come and join us.
Love it. Those are great macroeconomic and long-term systemic Bitcoin conversations. If you guys are interested, Kelly is bringing in some great minds every single week on this exact day with these conversations. So make sure to tune in. Blockchain Crusader, where can people keep up with you at, brother?
Yeah, man, it's Blockchain Crusader on TikTok, Instagram, BChain Crusader on X. That's pretty much where you can keep up with all my content, all my stuff. And yeah, man, that's where you can find me.
Absolutely love it. Well, we went over a lot of different information today. We are going into the great unknown of 2026, sitting in stagflation, a situation that Bitcoin has never seen. I commend you for paying attention to crypto as we go into this time frame. Again, you have balls of steel, and I think that everything's going to be just fine as long as we remain based, do not top blast, and you know what? It's going to be okay. Appreciate you guys for being on the show, and I will see you on the next one. Peace.
We just wanted to take a quick second to shout out our sponsor, Arculus. They are a cold storage hardware wallet, helps you secure all of your digital assets for the future. Just tap this thing to the back of your phone and boom, you're in. We wouldn't be able to do this without them, but also wouldn't be able to do this without you guys, the Disco fam. You've supported us a lot over the years. If you want to support the channel now, just use the code DC20. It gets you 20% off this card. It's the #1 way you can support this channel going forward. Thank you for your support. We'll see you at the top.